Welcome to Basically Sci-Fi, the short story podcast with stories you can basically call sci-fi. I'm Adam.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Todd.
And I've got some news for you.
Related to the podcast?
Related to real life.
Oh.
Which is what we all want to hear when we come to a fantasy podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Science fiction.
I heard that, well, recently I was watching YouTube and not doing my own research. And then my mom sent me a message.
You gotta do your own research.
No, I don't. And why would I when someone else can just do it all for me? My mother told me the other day that our neighbor is trying to break into her house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and this episode's going to come out months after the actual event. So there's, I feel pretty comfortable talking about it now because
Okay.
I don't have to deal with it until later.
Sure.
But so a little bit of flavor text for you guys. Not flavor text, a little bit of flavor for you guys.
Yeah. Blast me.
I'm from Flavortown, Virginia, and our neighbor does things and sells goods, and
Right.
yeah, like brownies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And and
His brownie lab
apparently-
exploded a couple years ago.
apparently she skipped out on paying one of her flower suppliers,
Uh-huh.
and they broke into her house.
Oh.
And beat the shit out of her, and she's like a 60-year-old woman as well, so it's like
Oh.
that's not great. But she had
Most
all her kids had
bakers
moved out.
are, actually, though.
All her kids.
She's got grandkids.
All her kids had
to
moved
send
out.
brownies too.
No, she's got grandkids. Yeah. One now, but it's a baby. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
her kids moved out because of various reasons. They're estranged or they got married.
Right.
All the good reasons.
The usual reason children leave their home.
Yeah.
The usual reasons, yes. And her husband moved out, and so now she's just, it's just her.
Right.
And her assistant that she hired. But anyway, for the brownies.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they broke in to recoup the money via brownies that she owed them. But anyway, she didn't have the brownies and she didn't have the money.
Right.
But she did decide to up and bail and go live at one of her friends' houses for a few months. And my parents telling me, this was months ago, back in December.
Right.
Parents telling me that there's a bunch of people driving by in big pickup trucks, and they'll drive slow in front of the neighbor's house and then drive away, coming by checking to see if she's there and all that.
Yeah.
The lady was scared half to death, so she asked us to take care of her cats for her. She had 2 outdoor cats that, first of all, I disagree. Cats are indoor pets, not outdoor pets. Anyone who leaves their cat outside is a madman. But besides the point, she gifted us the 2 elderly outdoor cats. They were disheveled and unkempt.
Right.
Because she never let them inside. So my mom brought them inside and proceeded to clean them and take them to the vet to find out that they'd never been registered legally with the city or been given their vaccines or anything. And these were one of the cats is a decade old.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It was old when I was in high school. It was more than a decade ago. No, wait a minute. Anyway, it's an old cat.
Yeah.
So my parents went through all the trouble of paying for their vaccines, which are not cheap, and registering them, getting their names registered and stuff.
Right.
And so effectively, legally, now my parents own the cats.
Yeah.
I know that that lady had the cats for a long time, but she basically just threw food outside and then they came to eat it. And I know, pristine animal management right there. Train of thought got away from me. So, my parents now are taking real good care of the cats, but fast forward from December to now, one of the cats last week, so old, it passed away.
Right.
Yeah.
It was passing away, and then my mom called the home visit vet, and they came and euthanized it, put it right to sleep so that it didn't have to sit there and wheeze itself to death over the course of a day. They're just like, no, just let it pass easily.
Okay.
And she made a post about that on the Facebook, saying like today one of the cats passed and it was real sad, and all the funny stuff that we love on this funny comedy podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
But the owner of the cats, I'll call her Brownie. Brownie called to leave a message, an angry message, being like, "Give me my fucking cats back," and like basically going crazy. And like that day she decided to move back into her house next door. I guess her fear of the angry Muffin Man coming to collect was I guess the fear abated, and she came to live next door again. Anyway, though, she's been like kicking holes in the fence. You gotta use baking powder. Now she's been kicking holes in the fence now, and like every time my parents go outside to get in their car, like they see her like looking out the window, and she'll like run out and like try to run up to them as they're like, quickly back out of the driveway, quick! And it's like something out of The Shining or something. It's really weird how this lady's acting. But she's like, I don't believe my cat's dead, and I want both my cats back, right? And my parents are like, lady, I mean, the cats are legally ours now. It's been 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from you in 6 months. We don't even know where you went. And now you just want the cats back? And my parents are like, no, we don't trust you with the cats anymore. Oh. That I don't trust her with the cats anymore because they used to be outdoor cats. And the cat that's left is, I mean, he is like 15 years old, so he's an old cat.
Right.
Yeah.
And I used to find him in the wheel well of the minivan I was borrowing from my dad when I had to go to school in the morning in high school. Right, that cat liked to get inside of the wheel well or sit on top of the car or whatever and go to sleep. And like you'd have to shoo him out of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have backed over that cat so many times. But I never did.
So she's breaking into the house to get her cats back now.
She hasn't broken into the house yet, but she has kicked a bunch of holes in the fence in the backyard, and she was like, I'm going to call the police and have this fence torn down. It's my fence. My parents are like, no, lady. We built the fence, and it's on our property.
Right.
And we can pull out the fucking deed and show you where the property ends, but it's on our side. And she's like, fuck you.
I don't know why.
Real.
Nice.
I don't know why I liked your old lady fuck you voice.
just a real nice human.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm dealing with this week.
Hey.
How are you guys doing?
I'm good. No one's trying to steal my cat.
Or your dog.
Or
Could
my
you
dog.
imagine if one of your neighbors was like, I'm gonna fucking tear down your fence, Todd. It's my fence. And you're like, no. And they're like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
There's a character.
There's a character off that I've missed now. I'm gonna call her Miss Brownies.
I mean, how long have you been in Japan? And Todd still doesn't know how to speak Japanese, so they might be saying that. He doesn't know.
It might be. I just ignore him.
Yeah.
Just
Makes
pretend.
Tomo deal with him.
No, actually, I do deal with them mostly because I assume just my presence will scare them away.
Fair.
Like, oh no,
Right?
he's too powerful. He has the power of English.
They might have got an anime, but I've got
You've got to stand.
obstinate refusal to learn their language on my side.
Your stand user. Your stand is
Stand your
English.
ground.
stand your ground and shotgun.
Shotgun. I do frequently joke that I assume that they think I have a gun, and that's why they don't talk to me. Like I've been fully vaccinated, which is actually earlier than a lot of people, and people keep asking me like, is it because you're American? Did America give you the vaccine? And I'm like, no. What? No. No.
How does that work out?
My town that I live in Japan, I didn't hop a ride back to America, go get vaccinated, and come back, and then do it again 3 weeks later. Like, so I guess there's assumptions that continuing our American lifestyle and hoarding a bunch of guns as well.
My boss essentially did something like that. He was... Because in the North, people are reasonable in getting their vaccines and everything.
Right.
Like early on when they first came out. But he happened to be in Kansas for a couple of months. So he just... Apparently everywhere there had an overflow of the vaccine because no one was getting it because it's the South and they're idiots. So he just walked into a fucking pharmacy and got vaccinated the first day it was available to him.
Right.
There's nobody had made appointments. There was there's no one else there when he did it. And went back a month later, it was exactly the same, and he got his second shot, second dose.
All the nurses gathered around him and clapped as he left the room.
That or whispered behind his back that he was crazy for getting that 5G shot into him.
You're magnetic now.
What's 5G even stand for? What does it even mean?
Great googly... I've only got 2 G's. I don't know.
I thought it was 5 grapes.
Grape.
I'm just gonna put grape juice in my veins. It's basically the same thing. There was a bunch of anti-vaxxers fucking outside of our workplace in the city that I had to work in recently.
Nice.
Yeah, they got them.
They have those there too?
Yeah.
They're real polite though here. They're like, please don't get the vaccine.
Right. Here's some
take
information.
Your mask off. And I'm like, the science is basically amounted to like, take the mask off, you need to build your immunity.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking excuse me?
Yeah. Welcome to the vaccination podcast.
I was thinking about telling another story of mine from recently, but I don't think it's really suitable for this podcast. Much like most of the other things we've talked about today, but you know.
Yeah.
I'll skip out on it.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that means I can't cut my story.
Or you can just cut me saying that.
No, I'll just leave it in.
Yeah, fuck it.
All right. So, anyway, before we say any other things, let's get to my story.
Yeah.
Today's story actually has a name. It's a part 1 of 2.
You've named
and that's
it.
not a JoJo reference.
Right.
Is that the name?
It's not a JoJo reference.
Oh no.
Impossible.
It's called A Challenger Appears, Part 1.
Oh. Part 1.
So it's a Pokemon reference.
Does Pokemon have parts?
Challengers.
Yeah.
Challenger was a space shuttle.
Appears.
Oh,
yes, that. It sure was.
Just gotta, yep.
The key word in that statement is was.
Was. Man, I don't remember that. I was like a month old.
Yeah, no, neither did
I was dead.
You were dead.
Thank you.
All right, A Challenger Appears, Part 1. Let's blow it up.
Okay. Buck stood in a hallway that felt like it went on and on. Looking either way down the corridor, the end of the hallway seemed to resolve into white fuzz, vaguely out of focus. Man, where were his fucking glasses? There were bulkheads with closed doors every so often. Most of them looked the same. He was kicking himself for wanting a snack at this hour. He was wishing now he'd stayed in bed. The heavy silence of bedtime pulled at him. Like wading through muddy water, Buck took careful, deliberate steps to avoid waking any of the crew, putting one foot in front of the other until he'd found the end of the hallway. He kept on wandering for what felt like an hour or two, going upstairs, downstairs, around cleaning bots, little domed shapes scurrying around, buffing the slick metal floor, and occasionally buffing the walls. They didn't move particularly fast, so it was easy to dodge them. But Buck had noticed in the week since he'd been so graciously picked up by the mysterious captain of these, not marauders. Yeah, definitely not marauders. Buck tried to put that word out of his mind. Going down 5 or 6 flights of stairs. Who could really keep track of stairs anyway? They all looked the same. Buck came to a security door that was closed. Black and yellow hazard stripes accompanied a sign. It read, "Caution, partial vacuum." Buck noted the set of void suits that hung on the wall and canisters of canned air lined up beneath them. That's gotta be engineering, he thought. Better to turn around now. Buck had never been on one until now, but he'd heard that some of the bigger ships out in the galaxy had whole sections of the ship in different stages of vacuum. Something about void ecology reprogrammed to make minor repairs. Little creatures gave him the heebie-jeebies, so he got away from that door as fast as he could. Back up a few flight of stairs and back into the maze of hallways. Morning, or at least what of it could be had on a bucket hurtling through the void, came all too soon for Buck. He'd found his way back to his room eventually. Never did find the mess hall, though. Not without someone around to give him directions. A bell played over the loudspeakers. Ding dong, ding dong. "Rise and shine, fuckers! The captain wrote this, so please don't take offense with me. It's time to get your asses out of bed. Mess call is in 10 minutes. The loudspeaker cut off. Buck roused himself. His weeks on the ship had taught him that anyone who was late to the mess got nothing but grits. No butter, no salt, no cheese. It was basically the same as eating a bunch of rubber. Hell, once he'd even rolled his grits up into a ball and let them dry next to a dehumidifying vent. When he dropped it, it had bounced nearly all the way back up to his hand. Buck kept that ball in his pocket since then. You never know when you need a bouncy ball. Wilson don't tell him if he'd get in trouble for playing with his food, so he just decided to keep the evidence hidden. His mother always went on a tear when he made faces out of his mashed potatoes. Those were the good old days of last year. Teeth can be brushed later, he thought. He went to bed wearing his pants and shoes, so he was 50% of the way there already. He threw on a shirt and some deodorant and booked it down to the mess hall. Buck's room was a buzz of activity, the Froggy Boys busying themselves with the new clothes that they had been given. Been weeks, but they still have some trouble with it. The captain had even sent the morale officer around to give the Froggos a helping hand, seeing as she had the most experience with hygiene and getting dressed and all. Suffice to say, she had her hands full every morning with these frogs. Down to the mess hall, he got there this time by following everybody else. Buck found Arlo and the captain sharing a cup of coffee together. Buck grabbed his food and joined them. "A fine morning, gentlemen, isn't it?" he said. "The finest!" the captain boomed. The man was insufferably alert and capable in the morning. "No doubt you'll agree. Today's the day we made our last jump to the capital. I guess now is as good a time as any to sign off on your paperwork, Buck." The captain stood. His plate was completely clean. He guzzled his coffee. "Get your paperwork and meet me at the bridge." And he left. Buck sat down to his plate of eggs and bacon. "Arlo, when you're done, let's head back to the room together," Buck said, trying not to sound like he didn't know how to get back to his room. "Actually, Buck," Arlo said, "I was going to check out the morale office. Darlene said she was free today, and it's the only part of this ship that I haven't seen yet." Arlo was keen on getting a tour of any part of the ship that people would let him. He'd taken quite well to the new environment, Buck noted. "Are you sure you can't just come back to the room with me? I can manage on my own after that," Buck continued. What do you mean, manage, Buck? We've been here a few weeks. It's just 2 rights and a left. We're not even that far from our quarters. Buck quickly took the note down. Oh, yes, 2 rights and a left. Yeah. Oh, great mother, Buck. Don't get lost. Arlo said, opening his maw and eating a tomato whole in one bite.
You're making me hungry.
Buck wolfed it. Oh, yeah, well, he was a frog. I imagine he opened his mouth like a fucking hippo, right? He just, fucking lowered the thing into his mouth.
He didn't whip his tongue out and grab the tomato and then slurp it up.
Jar Jar
It'll be a lot more clear when we, Arlo said, Misa hungry? No, I'm not going to do that. Don't want to get copyright struck.
I think you're allowed to say Misa.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's allowed to say Misa, to be honest.
You can't copyright strike parody.
Exactly.
You know, Arlo's not a parody of Jar Jar Binks, but he could be. He could become, rather, I guess. Where were we? Oh, yes. Buck wolfed down his breakfast and left Arlo finishing the coffee. He looked at the little map he'd been making for himself when he wandered around last night. He added the mess hall to it, and the instructions, 2 rights and a left. The bridge... A little while later, the bridge was a buzz of activity when Buck finally got there. So many people all doing their jobs, Buck marveled. Some people actually eventually had to do some work, he thought. Wow. Or nothing would ever get done. He found the captain in his bathrobe staring out at the expanse through the viewport. Captain Dirk! I've never seen everyone so busy. What's going on? Buck said, joining him. The jump buoys were as beautiful as ever, Buck thought to himself, looking at the viewport. They were 2 great big pyramids of gleaming white with golden tips. Back in school, Buck was taught that the jump buoys had always been more or less around forever, as far as anyone could tell. They were always found in pairs and only ever linked 2 places. You had to fly your ship between them. There'd be a white light, and then you'd be at your destination. There were occasional events where a new set of buoys were found by some deep space explorers, but that happened less and less these days. And no one had ever really managed to make any new ones. A lot of people wanted to study them, take them apart, see how they tick and all that. The problem was, though, that no one wanted their system to be cut off from the galactic trade like that either, though. The buoy pairs were really far apart, sometimes a few light years, but others were a few hundreds of light years apart. If you broke one trying to study it, you were effectively cut off forever. We've got to edit our call sign before we jump, Buck, Captain Dirk said. A ship our size could cause quite a stir, coming in unannounced. I never really thought about that, Buck said. The Marauder-class ships aren't the biggest things out there, but I guess they do pack some serious firepower. Exactly, Dirk said. We're no capital ship, but we're no tiny scav ship either. My mama told me it's polite to announce yourself every time you make a jump, Buck said, feeling self-satisfied at the contribution. That's how people had conversations, right? By linking related topics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dirk gave Buck a sidelong glance and shook his head and returned to his captain's chair. Buckle up, Buck. It's time. The ship proceeded forward, passing through the space between the buoys. In an instant, they hurtled through the endless sea of stars, coming out between another set of identical buoys. But the vista had changed. Before them was the great galactic seat, an ancient planet home to the Piryat. The first to reach Kardashev Level 2, and then 3 later. As far as they could tell, anyway, they were the first. The Piryat's homeworld had become a natural capital for the galaxy. As they had a jump buoy in a Lagrange point orbiting their planet, And they were the most technologically advanced. So it was just so convenient. Buck was awed by the planet itself. It was cocooned in layers of hexagonal matrix structures, supported by pillars coming off of the planet. Ships glided around, waiting in lines to dock, load, unload their passengers, gear, cargo, or what have you. It put Buck in mind of a busy beehive. Dirk commanded the ship down, hailed the landing crew, and put the ship in a line. Now, all we gotta do is wait, Buck. Wait for our turn. No, I fucked that up, hang on. Now all we gotta do, Buck, is wait our turn. Just then, the ship lurched so hard that Captain's coffee mug tumbled off the table where he'd left it. Some of the crew stumbled around. Fucking hell, the captain said, groaning as he squatted down and dabbed at the spilt coffee with the corner of his bathrobe. Best boy, check for collision damage. I want to know who ran into us. And can someone get me a towel? Captain, we're... No, that's not how he sounds. Hang on. What voice should we give this guy? Well, yeah, Captain, we're getting a reading on some gravity waves coming in. Somebody shouted.
Pretty good.
They didn't see it, though. Buck saw it. All the other ships nearby, he could see through the viewport, were in the same predicament. They'd all been knocked off course, jostled, tumbling. Some had hit the others. Some had been sent tumbling into the atmosphere of the planet, burning up. Some were tumbling out towards the moon. But that didn't bother Buck nearly as much as the massive humanoid shape, arms akimbo, that was blocking out the sun. To be continued.
Oh my.
Oh.
Oh yeah, oh my.
That sounds like a reaper.
Or like Cristo Redentor is coming.
Yeah.
Who?
Cristo Redentor, the statue of Jesus and
oh yeah.
Rio.
Actually, yes. Imagine that, but big and fleshy and
it's fleshy, so it's a being.
yes.
Oh.
That's some honk. Yeah.
Honk, motherfucker. No. It's a giant goose.
Yeah.
With fingers.
No, there's some nice setup in that episode for the part 2 at least.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You got a bunch of stuff to think about for the next 3 weeks.
I hit 1,600 words and I was like, well, if I keep going, it's going to be like a 30 or 40 minute story and I don't want to.
What's the captain's name again? I keep forgetting and I need to write it down.
Dirk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Captain Dirk.
Gently. All right, I get it. No.
Who's Dirk Gently?
Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. It's a a couple of Douglas Adams books.
Holistic
Detective Agency. It's about the interconnectedness of all things.
You know what? This is funny, and I didn't know about this.
No, I definitely recommend those books, but I won't get into them right now.
And
maybe
so
after we finish recording.
I don't think
Eliza
Dirk
Wood.
is reference to that.
No,
Elijah Wood.
I typically don't assume that people are referencing Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, so Dirk, nay Splad, Gently, nay Chaley. Yeah.
I
like 4-letter names.
Lots of world building of your own going on here.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Different.
Got the buoys.
Ships,
got the
buoys.
Got the
yeah, I really wanted the excuse to tell like a space opera over like giant scale.
Yeah.
But without any of the fucking relativistic time thing, because that's just some nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, if it would take you like hundreds of years to travel between stars, then why would you ever bother? Right.
Just to say you did.
I mean, you could do that, but I was watching Isaac Arthur, and he was explaining basically like, if it took hundreds of years to travel between stars, then their like galactic trade would be next to non-existent.
Yeah.
Because what could you ever make now that would be relevant in 100 years, and someone would want to pay good money for?
How would you know
relatively
that in 100 years I would still want to buy it? You know, yeah.
I mean, I think the only thing that would be realistic would be tourism, I guess, to go see like different interesting planets and things. But besides that,
yeah, setting up a vacation for your great grandchildren, you know,
to be born on.
They're really gonna appreciate me sending them out there in the middle of fucking nowhere.
I guess but yeah, no, it that all depends on how the theory of relativity would work in practice. Like, would it be 100 years, or would it be 100 years for the people on your planet, but not for you? You know, like the Planet of the Apes style, the original. They come back to Earth, and they're
that's how a lot of authors handle it. That's how Ender's Game, and Speaker for the Dead, did it as well.
Yeah.
So he ended up being like 40, but like had lived lifetimes. Of other people's time.
His personal time had gone 40 years, but the place he was traveling to was moving at regular speed. Yeah.
I heard also that if you freeze yourself for more than 900 years, see in your body you got potassium, and potassium does have a half-life, and it is slightly radioactive, and it breaks down. And something like if you freeze yourself for 900 years and you never thaw and you never have your body do any cell repair, then you will get a lethal dose of radiation poisoning from the potassium breaking down in your body. Which is like wild. So you can't just put people on ice indefinitely either.
No.
Well, I'm sure that future cryologists will take that into account when they're designing their freezing chambers.
Or they'll just
cryo
me a river.
Ted Williams' head will be very concerned about this, but
well, then wake me up in 899.
Yeah.
The way a lot of stories handle it is they wake people up periodically, like in stages. So like they'll have like a third of the crew wake up and like piddle around for a few weeks and then like go back to sleep and then like just wake up in shifts basically.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on how hard a sci-fi line you want to follow.
Well, I love hard. I love everything hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Any criticism or anything you liked? I prefer things you liked.
Every time I hear... Oh. Yeah, no, it's good. Every time I hear Buck's name, I think of Kill Bill, and it really puts me off for a minute, and then I get back into it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's my stupid brain that I haven't...
I'm gonna make him say
I haven't seen Kill Bill since it first came out on DVD, so...
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him say it. I'm gonna make him say the thing.
But besides saying the thing, I liked it. It's just that it was a part one, so like I don't know. I wasn't ready for the story to end.
A lot of setup.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
You gotta have those episodes. If you do multi-parters like that, sometimes you just need an episode to set things up for the reveals.
Yeah, we talked about this a while ago. When people are going from like point A to point B, you can either just be like, and they get there, or like you can do a little bit of like life on the ship, which is kind of what I wanted to do.
That's what I was doing more or less. I did mostly it was they're just there, but there were a couple of episodes where I did life on the ship.
Right.
For me, the Life on the Ship episodes of yours really did a lot of character development, and I really enjoyed people devolving into madness.
Yeah, they had to. There was nothing else to really do with them.
Do something
other than
listening to yours, it felt like yours was like the character development was the first thought, and then you put them in that situation. It didn't feel like you thought like, oh well, they've got to travel, so I might as well develop their characters. It very much felt like you thought about their arc, and then you say, well, the best way to do that would be to be on a ship.
Yeah.
It felt more like a conscious choice.
I definitely put that much thought into it.
Yeah.
Well, it was... The
definitely don't
developed.
Write entirely off the cuff, you know?
The characters were developed, so the effects of being on a ship for a long time, you thought about how it would affect them individually, so yeah, that was good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And
anyways,
like
Adam's
story, I liked the way that Arlo is exploring the ship. I did get a little bit of a feeling like he's got a crush on Darlene there, but not sure. I think it was
the way she handles the Frogos.
Yeah, when he said his line, he was like, "I wanted to make a trip to see the morale officer." I was like, "That's got a little bit of tone on it." But then
he's gonna go Louis C.K. on her, isn't he?
When you read the narration after that, you were like, "He wanted to see any part of the ship that he hadn't seen yet." I was like, "Oh, okay, so it's not weird. It's just he's got a weird voice." So the narration.
He's not actually a creep. He just sounds like one.
Yeah.
I know a few people with that problem.
That's going right down in my little quote thing. He's not actually a creep.
He just sounds like one.
Which your notes are paying off because I remember that conversation we had about that's the way you have a conversation is by just stringing together relevant things. That's how you make a conversation.
Yeah,
that was a conversation that we had.
Yeah.
So you're putting it into practice, and I like that. That's very good.
Yeah, I carry around a little notepad full of little quotes that I write down that I think of, like, I need you to hold my ass cheeks together so I don't shit myself. Got that written down here somewhere.
That's a good note to have.
It's part of a longer anecdote.
I'm sure.
From high school.
And it'll become plot relevant at some point.
I'm gonna make it. Yeah. Put a bunch of spaces between these quotes so they don't all look like one conversation.
Anyway, a lot of good character and world building, so I'm excited for part 2.
Thank you. Other good news is I've finally broken 20,000 words.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if you guys kept all your work in one big document, you'd also know how much words you've written.
No, because I write all mine in Notepad, which doesn't count words.
And on real paper.
And on real paper, which also doesn't count words, because it's not a computer.
Yep.
Notepad terrifies me.
I could add mine.
It is frightening. It's a very spooky shade of white.
Let me check how...
A little Clancy.
My notes... I've reached 4,000 words.
Your notes?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have started taking notes too, because I realized I'm just forgetting too much in between episodes. So if you hear typing during my audio, that's what I was doing. Not talking to people on Steam or anything.
Yeah.
There's a web service called World Anvil, and I think I'm going to make an account on it sometime soon. But basically, it's just a website to make your own little wiki for your world. And I'm going to have to do that so I can keep track of this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Anyway.
It's mostly used for D&D, but this is basically...
Yeah.
This is D&D, but it's just me.
Yeah. D&D without the dice. And nobody to derail your storyline.
Nobody but me to derail it.
Yeah, fair enough. You can always do that yourself, I'm sure.
All right, dear viewers, thank you for tolerating my story this week. And don't forget to, if you want, like. If you don't want, hit that fucking dislike, I guess. Comment and subscribe. Tell me how good you thought my story is. And send me money via Venmo. Or send us money via Venmo. P.O. Box.
Cash works too. My address is...
Number 4.
No.
Yeah. Hey, if you want, I can give you power of attorney. That way you can just get it to me directly.
Yeah. Just send a credit card.
If you just send me a letter in the mail, then I'll give you power of attorney. And catch you later. Bye.
Bye.